Good morning and welcome to day 4 of the Festival of the Future, where we're being hosted by the Bridport Scientific and Literacy Institute. A fantastic space that was originally built in 1835 and opened as a mechanics institute. And it seems appropriate that we're here in the week celebrating Ada Lovelace, known for being the first female computer programmer. I'm Tom Stiles, and alongside Steve Peddy, we're your hosts for today. We're going to be talking all things digital, including how you can get online and the benefits for both individuals and businesses. There is a little cat making a lot of noise over here.
That's a dog, Tom.
That's a dog. That's sorry. You've got the cat. Excellent. So we're looking at some of the digital support that's available for people as well. We've got lots of interesting guests to hear from this morning, plus an area where residents can come down and get hands-on with the technology. So if you are watching online, it's not too late. You can pop down to Bridport and join us for a cup of tea and a cake, as many of our guests are. Can we just hear from our guests? Say hello. Hello. All right, we've got a big crowd here as well.
And we're even going to talk about these pets. If you were fooled, these are not real. We've got a cat and a dog over there making quite a lot of noise. And if you've got any ideas, we're looking for names for these pets. And in fact, if you've got any comments during the day, we'll be picking them up online. So,
brilliant. So,
okay,
yeah. So the first topic we're going to explore this morning is what we mean by digital poverty. And I'd like to introduce to the festival both Penny and Mike. Thank you very much for joining us on the sofa this morning. Now, Penny, Dorset looks for all the world like quite an affluent place, a prosperous county. Is digital poverty really an issue in Dorset?
Yes, it absolutely is. Digital deprivation goes hand in hand with other types of deprivation. And we have some deprived areas in Dorset. And we know from the programmes that we run, when we invite people to bid for and apply for free devices, there is a real need for support, both with their digital skills, but also with the financial side of getting online.
So this is getting hold of devices and getting the connectivity into their homes? Is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
So yes, there are many barriers for people to be online, and the first is the connectivity, which we're going to be hearing about later. So first of all, they need to be able to access broadband, but then they need to be able to pay for it. And for many people, they don't have broadband at home. There's still a large number of people who can't afford broadband at home, so they rely on mobile data. And there are programs nationally and indeed locally to give people data to support them with that. But some people also don't have devices. And if you're not quite sure whether a device is going to help, you're not going to invest in one to find out. So loan schemes and donation schemes are really helpful for giving people the opportunity to try being online and see whether it does make a difference. I mean, we know from the pandemic that being online is no longer a nice to have. It's a need, it's an absolute need. And now we have the cost of living crisis. It's going to be really hard for a lot of families, I think, to be able to invest in the broadband for themselves, to be able to access work, but also for their kids to access education, older people maybe to access services that they need.
So it's an essential part of modern life, but for some cases it's quite difficult to justify that expense. Tell us about some of the other initiatives that you've got in place to try and bridge this digital divide.
Yes. Well, we have our volunteer digital champion network, and Mike's one of our volunteer digital champions, and they do a fantastic job in giving people the skills that they need in order to get online. But we also have, we have device donation schemes. So we've just given out over 90 devices to households to be able to get online for the first time. Often this is the first time that they've had a device in the home. We give out SIM cards, so as part of the national database, we give out SIM cards so people who have a phone but can't top up, we can help with that. So there are a number of different ways. We're looking at schemes so that we can recycle more devices in Dorset. We work really closely with our health colleagues, some of whom are here today, in making sure that we have a joined-up approach in Dorset, right across all the public sector and indeed the private and the volunteer sector. So it's easy for people to understand what's available for them, where to get help.
Brilliant.
So, Mike, you've been helping people in your role as a digital champion. Would you like to tell us a bit about that? How's it been helping people?
I go back before COVID. I've been a digital champion, a volunteer digital champion for 5 or 6 years. So the first example I'd like to give you is from before COVID. This is one of the places I work is Puddletown Doctor's Surgery. The lady came in, she's very proficient on her iPad. She was a regular of mine, but this time she came in and said, could I help with her gas and electricity bill? And in 40 minutes, we saved her £40 a month.
Wow.
And she was 85. That makes quite a difference when it makes a difference at any age.
Huge. Yeah.
I can give you a lovely example from deep in lockdown 1, when Penny's first handing out devices project was underway. And we had what sounds like a completely bizarre and illogical request. Could we give a smartphone to a man who has been profoundly deaf and dumb since birth, and he was in his early 80s? Why would you give a smartphone to a man who's deaf and dumb? Video calling. He was completely isolated during the lockdown, and it was upsetting him. And I was lucky enough to be involved in the handover of this device in Dorchester Library, which is my base. We organised a signer to come in and translate between us, and we teed up with his friend that his friend would be in that day. And John, I'm not giving any secrets away here, he's been all over the internet. He's one of our star performers. John Phillips phoned the guy. Now, I'm a crusty old soul, so I really am. But tears came to my eyes watching this guy communicate for the first time for some months. And it was bizarre because it was almost silent. He's now moved on. This guy has really taken technology to heart. He's bought his own tablet, and his surfing has moved on. And finally, we have an example from only a few weeks ago. This is the current phase of the Digital Doorway project, where Penny's team is handing out slightly more sophisticated devices than just phones, tablets and laptops. And I was involved in the handover of a new, beautiful little Windows laptop to a single mother who has 3 children at primary school, and they're all trying to do their homework through one smartphone. This woman was absolutely overjoyed to have this laptop. She was proficient in Windows, thank goodness. During the conversation, I said, of course, your email is not set up on here. So she set it up, just like that. And I felt so confident that when she walked out of there, she was going to get real value for this. So, yes, digital exclusion and poverty is a real problem, but my goodness, Penny's team's working hard to deal with it. And I'm just proud to be part of it.
And changing people's lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And incidentally, changing mine.
Yeah.
You know, because I find it really challenging. This is not an advert. Please don't ever think of doing this. But people come in and ask questions that I don't know the answer to. Now, that to me means I go home and do my own homework. They book another meeting the following week. They come in and we can move on. And
Amazing.
that, to me, keeps this moving. So I shouldn't really admit this in such an august crowd here, but I do it for me. I always believe it in, you know, there's a slightly rude expression, isn't there? Use it or lose it. I believe it applies to this as well, and this keeps me really struggling, and it's wonderful.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And Steve, it's fascinating to hear some of Mike's stories there. Obviously, you have a rich history in social care. Just tell us about how digital skills could help people stay healthy and independent from what you've seen.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I want to say is if you've been hearing these pets interrupt Mike, it's one of the things that we want to be able to show you later on is that some of the things that people will use in their own homes are nice and warm and fluffy and just part of what a home looks like. And individuals can be supported to remain independent for as long as possible in their own homes, including the use of these pets, but also lots of gadgets, things that we will show you later on the table.
Brilliant.
We look forward to that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Dorset really leading the way when it comes to tackling digital inclusion. Penny and Mike, thank you very much. Making a difference to people's lives, including your own life, Mike. That was a very positive story. Love to hear that. Now, of course, as we pivot, and I'm going to take your microphone as well, as if that's okay. I'll pass this one. You can have both. There's one for Charlie as well. Now, of course, to get online, you need to be able to connect, and I'm delighted to be welcome Sara, Charlie, and Nathan from Jurassic Fibre.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Can you just tell us a little bit about what Jurassic Fibre is and what you do?
Sure. So Jurassic Fibre are rolling out full fibre broadband across Devon, Dorset, parts of Somerset and Cornwall. We've just actually installed the first home in Bude in Cornwall. So we're investing £250 million into the region, bringing with it hundreds of jobs in technology in the technology sector, which is really great for the region.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what that, you call it full fibre.
Full fibre.
What do we mean by that? And what's that different from what people think of as their normal broadband?
So effectively, most people in the country have what we call partial fibre. And what that means is that they have fibre to the cabinet, but from the cabinet thereon, they have the traditional copper cable.
So that could be that last quarter of a mile.
Absolutely. And you know, there's a different distance for each property. So depending on where you are in the street and how far away from the cabinet you are, will really depend on the speeds that you can achieve. So what you find with those more outdated technologies is that the speeds are slower and they're less reliable.
Okay, so 97% of people in Dorset have got broadband.
Yeah.
But the additional benefits of the full fibre are huge.
They are immense. So if you think about, think about 10 years ago. I think back and I think I had a smart TV that I never streamed on.
Yes.
I had a couple of iPhones, and there are other mobile phones available. And then fast forward 5 years, and I've got teenage boys who've got Xboxes. I'm streaming more. I'm streaming music. And the traditional kind of services that I had that were through copper just weren't coping. So I had to move to a full fibre. Unfortunately, full fibre was released into my village. Without that, I would not have been able to use those devices. Today, you know, the world is changing. We've got smart homes. We've got people who are connected to their fridge freezers, their light bulbs. They've got Ring doorbells. You know, that level of connectivity is not going to work on the copper network in the way that they will need it in the future. And effectively, we have to have full fibre broadband to be able to live in our modern world.
So that's the benefits for residents and domestic properties and families.
Yeah.
But what about businesses? How can businesses benefit from the fibre rollout?
Absolutely the same. And they have, in many respects, even more needs in terms of the level of devices that they've got connected within their businesses. You know, whether they're a small business or a larger enterprise business. So their upload and download speeds are significant. And again, really rely on having full fibre to be able to deliver to that.
Yeah. Now, we talked already about digital exclusion. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on people's finances at the moment. Is fibre going to be more expensive than traditional broadband? You'd
think so, right? But if you actually look at what's happening in the UK at the moment, if you look at other some of the larger operators who offer full fibre, we call full fibre to the premise, or FTTP. What we're actually finding is that the broadband providers, the smaller broadband providers that are popping up around the country and investing in this infrastructure, are actually offering more competitive pricing structures than some of the larger nationals. And in fact, if you look at what's happening today, particularly with the cost of living crisis, what we're finding is that they're often more competitive than people on fibre to the cabinet. So you actually will get a better service for less, so more speed for less cost. And that's happening today. Now, one of the challenges that we've got in the industry is there's so much confusion. Everybody thinks that they've got fibre. You'll see things like super fast broadband, unlimited for life. What does that mean? There is no regulation on some of this stuff. So we're asking for regulation from government and from the regulatory authorities to help with that narrative, because people don't understand and it's creating confusion.
Yeah.
And it's really important that people understand what they're getting and what they're paying for.
So that difference between the fibre going to the cabinet and then the last bit to the house being in copper, you're talking about the fibre goes all the way to the property.
Absolutely.
And you get the full benefits of that
all
modern
the way
connectivity.
inside, inside the property.
Amazing. Okay. And so it's cheaper as well. And now we're here in Bridport today. Tell us about what Jurassic Fibre is doing in Bridport.
Sure.
Or how people here are going to notice the difference.
Well, you will notice, in fact, we're already here building out. We've already serviced our first 1,000 homes. So we've got over 1,000 homes ready for service today. And we are going to be building out the rest of the town over the next 6 to 9 months. Unfortunately, doing this is actually really complex. You know, we're building out all over the region, and it's massively complex. And we do try and minimise disruption. So we try and use poles that already exist, ducting that already exists, but that's not always possible. So there is likely to be some level of disruption that you will see over time. And I can only apologise for that, but I promise it will be worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
And then further on from that, we're also looking to extend out further across East Dorset. So we're starting to think about and planning building out as far as Swanage and Wareham and possibly up to Blandford Forum. I don't have dates for that today, but we're literally deep into the planning of that.
Well, let's hope when folks see people like Charlie and Nathan in their
Absolutely.
Jurassic Fibre gear out on the street, just laying down the fibres, that they understand what's going on.
And now we've talked about Jurassic. You'll see Jurassic vans everywhere. It's one of those things that you don't see it until you hear it, but you will spot them everywhere now I've said it.
Brilliant. Now, yesterday we were talking about the wide range of careers in digital, and Dorset Council this week have been celebrating Ada Lovelace Day. Ada Lovelace is the world's first computer programmer, and she began algorithm development 150 years ago, and she is used to highlight the achievements of all women who work in science, technology, engineering and maths roles. At Dorset Council, they've got a wide range of these roles. Now, I'm very pleased to be joined here by Charlie. Just tell us a little bit about what your job involves and what you would do at Jurassic Fibre.
So I'm classed as what's called a compliance engineer. So I'm normally based after all the work is done. So I go around, I make sure it's all up to Openreach's standards, making sure it's all put in the right locations, up to the right level that's required. If it's not, we normally tend to try and fix it ourselves, or we'll get someone else to come out and check it.
Brilliant. And do you see many other women in technology roles?
Not as many as I think we wish for. There are some out there, but around my area there's not really a lot, which is quite upsetting because it is a really nice environment to be in. Everyone's just really nice and friendly. You get lad banter now and again, but it spices things up in work. You don't always get the same old sort of stuff, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and you're out actually helping develop the digital future for the area as well.
That's correct.
Brilliant. Now, we've got lots of Sarah, you've been working with Dorset Council on training schemes for people that might be interested in this new area, because we've got a real shortage of fibre engineers in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a second, you're going to see what Nathan does. And, we're going to need, Nathan's a fibre splicer or a fibre engineer, but we need hundreds of these roles in this industry, in this sector, and there's a real shortage in this part of the world. So Dorset Council have been working with us because they're looking to fund training schemes to help provide and create roles to help provide that kind of access to learning and that knowledge and entice people into these roles. Now, what we need is more people like Charlie role modelling this, so we see more women coming into tech. It's really important that we see this role modelling happening because people think it's inaccessible, and it's not. I've worked in tech all my life. I'm not a techie. And you don't need to be, right? So these roles, we just need to find access to the learning. And in fact, we're working with Penny and the team on helping to develop that at Jurassic. And we hope to have our first trainees in by the end of January. So we're nearly there.
Brilliant. And to have a look at some of the things that those new trainees will be looking at, we're going to have a first go at our Let's Learn feature. We're going to play the
Fantastic.
promo and have a look at what Nathan does. I'll hold this. Now, Nathan, just talk us through all the fantastic technology we've got on this little bench and try and explain what's going on, because there's a lot of wires here.
So one of these is an SO joint. These come from basically our core and our FDTs. So our customers, where the MSTs will go into here.
Okay, so
This carries the light to go to the customer.
so there's a big cable coming in from somewhere. Where's that coming into the place?
So our network starts at a pop site, one of our pop sites. Then it will go out through a core to what's called an FDT,
Yeah.
which splits the areas up.
So what is an FDT something we'll be able to see on the street? What's that going to look like to somebody
Yeah,
walking past?
an FDT, you'll see. Well, you won't be able to see it because it'll be underground.
Right.
You'll probably see either Jurassic or one of our contractors working on them. But they're a lot bigger, circular joints. So they'll carry a whole area, and then they split out to what I've got here, which
Okay.
is an SO joint.
So you're taking the tiny little fibres, the glass fibres, from within the big,
The bigger joint, yeah.
the bigger joint, and then how do you actually splice them together in here?
I'll splice them obviously with my my splicer here. So normally this joint's obviously just for show. You have customer basic cables that go to an MST that you'll see on poles or underground. They'll go into here, and then you'll bring them in and put them into these trays.
Okay, so there'll be lots and lots of glass fibres running
so
around.
basically this whole tray could be full of glass fibre.
And how many connections can run through one of these joints?
One of these we can fit, I think it's nine MSTs in one of these.
So is that
So-
9 properties?
No, that will be 9 MSTs that can run up to 32 properties each.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of
So
a lot of people.
hundreds of
Yeah.
hundreds of people.
Yeah, full capacity one of these. Normally you put about six MSTs that can run 8 to 20 people.
And if you were having to fill all of those connections, how long does that take to go
build
through the
a whole
process?
joint?
Yeah.
Depends what cables come in, because we've got multiple cables. We've got 48 fibres, 12 fibres, 72 fibres.
So it's different every time.
Yeah, everything is
Yeah.
never the same.
And if you're going out on a day and you find you've got, a little one of these to do, is that you up the pole for the day, or?
I don't need to climb poles, luckily. These are all normally underground.
Oh, okay.
So I put my van up next to it. I'll either take it out if I can't get my van to it, put it on a stand like this, put all the cables in the back, dress them in like this, or you dress the whole joint first,
Yeah.
and then you'll just go along splicing it.
And it's all secure, underground, waterproof.
Yeah. So it's all glass, waterproof, heat resistant, so it won't have the wear like our existing network does.
Brilliant. Okay, now we have our audience here. Now I find this sort of stuff fascinating, but it's quite complicated. I was wondering if anyone from the audience has got questions they'd like to ask Nathan about how this all works and how the fibre gets from the street into your property.
I noticed that the local council are just resurfacing all the footpaths. Is that a good idea at the moment? I wouldn't have thought so, but the real question is, when you're putting the link between the box and the home, how is that going to get there? Is it a matter of digging up all the footpaths, or is it coming by the sewage system or something?
No, so where your existing line is, your existing open reach line or virgin line, or basically it'll either be on a pole or underground. So if it's pole fed, you'll see a cable coming from the pole to your house. Yours is underground, so it'll be the exact same. So our joint will be underground, the MST will be underground, and they'll bring it underground straight to your property.
And when's it coming to Bridport?
Obviously, different areas come, because Bridport is split into different areas, which we call D areas. So you've got D1, D2. There's, obviously, without knowing which area you're in. DT6.
This might be a
I'll tell
tricky
you-
question. Is this a question for Sarah?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. Yeah, so as I said, we're hoping to finish the rollout for the majority of the town in the next 6 to 9 months. But if I catch up with you later and you give me your postcode and details, I'll have a little look, see if I can find out for you.
And we've got an online question as well. Have we got our online question, Catherine?
Yeah, we do. Someone's asked, does splice deteriorate over time?
That's a good question for Nathan.
Obviously, it's not tried and tested, but it's not copper, so it doesn't, if it gets wet, it won't degrade. If this fibre's done on light, so the light
Yes.
will run through. If these joints are left alone, once they're built, this could outlast many years.
Amazing. And we can see that these things are built with incredible construction and,
Yeah,
and
they're all, when the lids are on them, they're fully waterproof.
yeah.
They're sealed up from underneath. You do the underneath up, so there's seals in here that seal that together. Once the lid's on, there's no water getting in them.
It's quite an impressive mix of really hardcore engineering and really fine detail of the actual glass fibres themselves, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Brilliant. Any other questions from anybody here? No. Right. So we've got connectivity. There are champions that can help us if we're not sure or confident about using computers. But we want to know how this can help us when we're talking about health and well-being. Now, on the sofa with me, thank you very much for joining us, I've got Emma from Livewell Dorset, and I've also got Christian from Dorset NHS. I'll pass you that microphone, Emma. Can you tell us a little bit about what Livewell Dorset do and how you use digital?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Livewell Dorset is a public health service, and it's for any adult in the Dorset area who wants to make a lifestyle change to get more healthy. So we can help with all kinds of things to do with getting healthier, such as thinking about how you move and increasing physical activity, thinking about helping you maybe reduce your drinking a little bit, weight management, all kinds of things like that. And digitally, what I thought I'd do, I don't know if anyone knows, but it's Stoptober at the moment, so I thought I would just share a little story about somebody that has used our service to give up smoking, but also used digital technology to help them with that.
Okay.
So you can read this story online if you want to as well. It's called Gina's story and it's on our website. But for today, I'll give you the kind of short version. So Gina was a nurse. She is a retired nurse now. But for 40 years, she smoked and she was really battling, trying to give up. She tried various different things over the years and just wasn't able to do it and, really wanted to. And over the years, saw other people manage to give up and didn't herself. And her doctor said, come along to Livewell Dorset and see if they can help you because, she was really keen to do something about it. And so along Gina came into the service and she did a combination of things. So she did traditional stuff to give up smoking, like had patches and NRT. Right. She had free behaviour change coaching as well. But alongside that, she downloaded the NHS Quit Smoking app. And what she found, which was really, really beneficial to her, is that she was able to track how much money she was saving on this app. And that was a real motivator. And over the 6 months that she didn't smoke, she saved £2,000. And that was huge for her. She felt really, really proud. And that really kept her going. Seeing that those pennies add up every time she didn't buy a packet of cigarettes was a real motivator. And actually, that idea of tracking and monitoring and health and technology really, really goes together. And there are lots of ways that we can use technology to help us track our health and track our health goals. So one of the other things that Livewell Dorset does is we give out CO monitors. So if you want to give up smoking and you're interested in seeing the impact on your lung health, we can give you a CO monitor, which again, if you want to, you can link it to an app if you want to use it like that, or you can just use it independently to track your lung health. You breathe into it, and as you give up smoking, you can see the improvement. So those ways of tracking your progress are really, really helpful when you want to make a health change.
And sometimes it's that being able to see the difference, reflected back to you, that helps kind of reinforce the habit change that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are apps for everything these days. And my colleague Christian is going to talk a little bit more about how we can access apps safely. But don't be afraid of apps. I think, often when we talk about technology, for some of us, and I know I've been guilty of this myself, I think about, robots taking over the world or something. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. We're talking about little adjustments and things that we can add into our lives to make our lives easier. And in terms of health, there's loads of things we can do to introduce little bits of technology that are going to really help us move forward and be the healthiest that we can be.
And it's the technology is an aid, it's a tool as part of somebody wanting to make a change in their life already. It's not the technology driving it, it's the person driving it, and the technology is helping them.
Absolutely, yeah. And we hear that time and time again. And like I said, it can be in any area of your life. Lots of people are really celebrating and using the Couch to 5K app. And that's, if you're not active at the moment, you feel like having a bit of a go at moving a bit more, you don't know where to start, that's an app that you can use that can kind of instruct you on how to go from literally couch to doing 5K. Yeah. So there's all kinds of ways that we can use those little apps, introduce them into our lives, and that can help us, move forwards towards a healthy lifestyle goal.
Oh, I had several colleagues in my former work that did the Couch to 5K app, so I can speak personally about the impact it had on them and their lives, and they were training for a big race, so it worked really well. Christian, welcome to the sofa. Just remind us who you work for, and also you've been doing some work with health and wellbeing apps, and just checking that they're tested and research-based. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a project manager in NHS Dorset. I work in the digital access services at home team. So we put technology into people's hands and into their homes to empower them to take charge of their health. And we've partnered with ORCA, which stands for the Organisation for the Review of Care and Health Apps. And I'll show you the website shortly. But what they do is they subject apps to quite a rigorous set of checks and criteria. At the most, they go through up to 350 different criteria points against things like professional assurance, so checking that the app is actually created by people who know what they're talking about, data, how's it treating our data, is it safe, is it secure, is it clear how we can opt out of it being shared, and also usability, so might as well have an app that's user-friendly, easy to use. So they do all that so we don't have to. And they take that out of our hands, and then they put that in a place where we can access it, which is our website. And then we can take those apps, and we know we're in a safe space where we're going to be downloading apps that are really good, quality, safe, and trustworthy.
So these are apps that are on the App Store, on the Play Store, that people can access, but ORCA have done this extra layer of validation and testing and given them a score of some type, is it?
Precisely, yeah. They're the exact same apps as you would get on the App Store or Google Play. But whereas on those marketplaces, you would find an aggregated review of people's experience akin to something like TripAdvisor, ORCA's review is completely objective. So if you were to review an app and you thought it was absolutely brilliant, and then I reviewed the app using the same framework and I thought it was terrible, we'd come out at the same score because it's completely objective.
Right, okay. Fantastic. And can you show us a little bit about what you've actually got in ORCA? So kind of help us understand what this is all about. I believe we can see this on the screen here in Bridport. There we go.
Yep, so this is our landing page. Here we are. So let's stick with the smoking theme, shall we, that Emma was going through. So let's put in here. Let's put in smoking, see what happens. So let's have a look at this. Smoke-free. It's got 91%. What does that mean? Let's have a look at it. So we said that wasn't someone's opinion. And by the way, ORCA's cutoff for what a good app is would be 65% overall. And something like 80% of the apps that are out there for health and fitness, they don't actually make that grade. So we're taking people away from those poor apps, but we're also giving them a place where they can actually use the best ones.
Oh, fantastic.
So what's that 91% made up of? We've got professional assurance, so we've got a 90% there. So why has it got that? So suitably qualified professional involved in it. It's being used in a recognised health and care environment. And it's also got suitable evidence. And ORCA have even quoted us a couple of studies here. So if you're interested, you can look at those. Then we've got our usability. That's really... It's got greens all over, so that's things like designated for people with poor eyesight or poor hearing. Can you adjust the font size, that kind of thing? And then we've got data. So a lot of us do worry about our data, very rationally, I would add. And this is making it clear that we can see what the rights we've got around our data in this app. And we can also see that data is securely held and transferred. So that's very reassuring for us. Now, you might well think, with the sorts of apps that Emma's team are recommending and doing a brilliant job with in that lifestyle space, they're fairly low risk. You know, an app that helps us support smoking, what does it matter what app we use for that? I suspect, Emma, and my response would be, we've got the best ones here, so why don't we use them? But if we pivot to an area like mental health, some of the apps in that space, we really, really don't want people to be using if they're not good enough. If we look at something like self-harm, 32% of the apps that help to prevent self-harm make Orca's grade. So what's that other 68%? We're keeping people away from them.
So in the health and social care and well-being space, there are some brilliant apps, but there's also some apps that we need to be careful of. And I think all of us have this healthy skepticism. We go onto the App Store and the Play Store looking at this, but Orca's guidelines helps us pick out the good ones from the bad ones and make better choices as well. That's what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Absolutely. And there are some apps where if we were to look at the three areas, so let's move to NHS smoke-free. Here's a good example. We may find that the scores are not all brilliant, but we may find that overall it's satisfactory. The key thing is we've got the ability to actually make that decision.
Okay. Oh, can we just put it back on the screen for a second? There we go. So it's the added benefit of having everyone watch Christian type as well, which we all know is
absolutely. That's what everyone here came for.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at this one, for example. We've actually got, you can see that orange bar at the bottom of the data, scored 59%. So we can look at that and we can make a judgment as to whether we're happy with that. For some of us, seeing that the app doesn't make it clear that all data is securely held and transferred, we might decide that's a deal breaker. The key thing is we've got that ability to make that informed decision. And if someone did make that decision, I wouldn't judge them for it at all. That seems perfectly rational. I personally would look at the fact that it's made by the NHS and hope that that's enough, but for some people it might not be.
But everybody can make the decision rationally about where they want to make this. That's a brilliant thing. And if I found an app on there, which I think, oh, this would be a good one that I'd like to recommend to somebody else, how can I do that?
So our workforce, so clinicians and the sorts of people who work in Emma's team and our social prescribers, they have got pro licenses, what these are called. So with their accounts, they can actually go into this and they can very easily, you can see on the screen there, you can recommend the app. All I need then is somebody's email address or their phone number, and I can send that recommendation to them. And from there, they're a couple of clicks away from that app in the App Store or Google Play.
So it's not just down to citizens finding this site, but the professionals can also use it to recommend appropriate and suitable apps. Just tell us a little bit about some of the different types of apps that people have got in there. We've talked about mental health, we've talked about smoking. What other sorts of things can we find in the App Store?
There's all manner of apps. There's apps to support you with long-term condition management. So if you were to look for apps to help you with cancer or asthma, there's lots on there. We've got the mental health we talked about. We've also got certain sets of apps that we've put together ourselves that we think are particularly good. So you can see there's one for maternity and women's health. So that's things like perinatal mental health after giving birth, apps to support you with childcare. And we've also got an aging well section. So if you're a person who's looking to stay really healthy as you get older, there's a really good set in there to support you with things like brain health, bone health, and physical exercise.
And have you got any other examples, Emma, where people have used this, the App Store successfully and had a transformational experience with it?
Yeah, I have. And it's interesting because sometimes when you think about health and wellbeing, and particularly some of the things that we help people with, we have somebody that perhaps come in looking for support with weight management. And actually, when we start to dig into what's going on for that person, we find out that actually they're eating relatively well, but they're not sleeping, and their activity is not quite in line with where we want it to be. And so they can download an app on sleeping habits, for example. So something completely different, but actually a really good aid that helps them monitor and regulate their sleeping patterns. So there are literally all kinds of things in there. And I think kind of the key message really is this is a safe place. So this takes the risk away for, you know, whoever. If you want to go and try an app and see how it might help you, start off on this website with these apps because they are really safe.
We're talking about the website. We should mention the URL. How do people find the website and where do they go?
So it's on ourdorset.org.uk, and you can also find it on the Our Dorset digital page, which has got a sort of gateway into the digital offer that we've got in the NHS and across the county.
So that's ourdorset.org, which is orcha.co.uk. Brilliant. And now I think we've got an example of somebody using the My Asthma app, which came from this site, and we've got a little video to show you now.
So my name's George and I'm one of the digital advisors with Livewell Dorset. I use the Orca platform to promote self-help and manage conditions. Patients have fed back to me that they feel more confident downloading, coming from, as the recommendations coming from a trusted source. The apps we recommend on a regular basis at Livewell are usually around helping patients to self-monitor their habit or the change that they're looking to make.
Since the app, because I'm taking my medication regularly, because I've got to log it, yes, I have. I feel like my condition has improved. It helps you take your medication, all the other benefits as well with the exercise, with maintaining your asthma as well. It's really, really good. Yeah, you're in control of it, and it's not in control of you.
Digital health apps are not only helping the NHS and nurses like myself in Dorset to improve care, but they are life-changing for our patients.
Well, a really interesting story there about the use of the apps, particularly looking at asthma there. And it's great that people can use digital to have a bit more control over their health. What should we be looking out for in the future? Obviously, there's a lot of potential with the technology that we've got available for. What's coming up in the future?
So we've already got blood pressure at home rolling out across Dorset. So that's an app that you use with a blood pressure monitor to submit your blood pressure results to your care team, and they can do that without you coming in personally. We've also got, alongside My Asthma, we've got My COPD. So over 100 people in the Bridport area are already using My COPD. That's supported self-management with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. That's something which helps them to stay healthy at home, keep track of their symptoms, and also access videos to help them stay healthy.
So that's 100 people in Bridport alone using that app on a daily basis to help them manage their condition.
Absolutely, and we want to get that figure up more.
Right, so there's some promotion to do as well, which hopefully today's part of that. So it's great that this is saving time, meaning people don't necessarily need to go to the doctors or the hospitals. It can reduce some of that stress and the transport difficulties that people have got. And I'd like to thank you both, Emma and Christian. Can we have a round of applause for all of our guests that we've had so far? And lastly, we've got a little video to show you. We've heard about health, and I wonder how social care is also using technology. Let's have a look at a short clip about how the automated home might look like in the future.
Home automation refers to being able to control various different devices around your home connected to a local network. These could be specialist light bulbs to Google Home or an Alexa or something very similar to that, where you can actually speak commands rather than perhaps having to go up and physically turn a light switch on, turn music on, turn the TV on. You can actually connect to smart hubs like thermostats and things like that. You can set up a routine which says in the morning at 8 o'clock I want the heating to come on, I want the lights to come on, I want the blinds to open. So for someone with perhaps a disability, whether that's a physical or cognitive one, I think it just makes life a lot easier for them, and also just means that you're less reliant on someone else doing it for you. So I think it's just really important, especially to maintain someone's independence and autonomy in their own home. For example, we had a gentleman that wanted to be able to open his front door without having to rely on a carer. We looked at how we could use the Ring doorbell and an automatic door opener, which he got on a disabled facilities grant, and connected the two up so that he could actually use his mobile device to see the doorbell and then allow them access with his key fob. So
really interesting stuff that. Good morning, everybody. My name's Jill Haynes. I have the portfolio at Dorset Council for all things digital. Steve, I know you started the session off here a little earlier today.
I did.
And there's some fantastic and really challenging changes coming to adult social care. I wonder if you could explain a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the future of adult social care is digital, like the rest of our lives. So whether you're looking for information, advice, guidance, whether you're looking to make a referral into adult social care, whether it's about getting your assessment to see whether your needs are eligible to receive help and support. Lots of different ways in social care. Our providers are using digital means to schedule their staff to go and visit people. And of course, we're about to see some devices that people will use in their homes to help them to remain more independent. So there's lots and lots of ways that we're using digital technology in adult social care.
Things are moving really fast at the moment, aren't they? I think it is, you'd notice on your phone, 5 years ago, we used our phone for phone calls, surprisingly, and possibly some texting and possibly a bit of FaceTiming, but now it's for everything. And the digital changes are happening really quickly, and I think we've got some here that we can talk about.
Yes, let's, show us what's going on. We're eager to learn.
Claire, can I pass that over to you? Do you need one of those now?
I think I do, yes. Hello, hi. So we're from the Technology-Enabled Care team at Dorset Council. So we're here to show you a few of the latest innovation products. And firstly, I'm going to start off with talking about a system that sort of monitors the person around their home. Now, this little cube here is called Monica, and she actually she's like a smart speaker, but she reminds people to stay hydrated, to get up and walk, be active. She does that by recognizing if the person's moving around their home. So you can place different sensors around the home. They're not cameras, they're just monitoring motion. You could see whether the kettle's going on, whether someone's actually taking a drink. There's a smart hydration mug. And if they've got the wearable on, you can see that they're keeping their steps up during the day. They might be not mobilizing too much. And then Monica will say, "Hello, Jill, you haven't been up this much today. What about having some walk around the lounge?" So it's really encouraging to see products like this being developed now to encourage that person to keep healthy, to sort of keep safe and independent, really. Another area we're focusing on more lately, and is one of the reasons why people get admitted to hospital because of dehydration, is smart hydration. So we've got some simple products here. This one is called the Ulla, and if you're able to recognize that every 40 minutes when this flashes at you, you would take a little sip of water, then that one's perfect. And they're very inexpensive to buy, but they just sort of remind someone it's time to have a drink. I've tested one and had it on my water bottle, and it certainly does. When I'm working from home at my desk, it certainly reminds me to have a drink.
It's not just older people, is it? I mean, we all
everybody needs to keep hydrated, because really, it keeps us healthy. Our bodies, we're made up of water. And if we're not hydrated, we're likely to have more falls, as we get older. And it can affect all sorts of bodily functions. The next step on would be something like this item, which is a droplet. Now, it has actually got something at the bottom that you can record a message on to say, "Mum, Dad, don't forget to have a drink." And using an app that you download, you can see whether your mum or your dad is having a drink and keeping hydrated. And then we come on to the most advanced one, which is called Aquarate. And this might be sort of more for maybe care settings, potentially, or care homes, but they are going to start introducing it in the for the public to purchase as well. And this comes with a whole sort of monitoring system as well, so you can see that your loved one is taking those regular drinks and they are keeping hydrated. It will tell you how much has actually been consumed as well. So really important. So. But I think we're now going on to my colleague Sophie in the corner there, and she's going to be telling you another thing that we're looking at the moment as well.
Hello. So I was just going to talk to you a little bit about smart heating. So I think we kind of all know that at the moment, living in the energy crisis at the moment, that heating is very important. So we kind of might be familiar with things like the smart meters, which allow you to track your usage of energy over time, and those small behavioural changes, such as sort of turning off lights and plugs that you're not using, can kind of help lower your consumption. But actually, we started looking at products like smart thermostats. So how this works is this would fit into an area of the property, perhaps like a main hallway, or something like that, and you can set that at a different temperature. So you might say that you've got 15 degrees in one area, but connected to these smart thermostat plugs, you can actually set up smart zones. So if you're living like predominantly upstairs and you want a slightly higher temperature in a different room, it can kind of help you stop heating the whole house, as opposed to just these little individual rooms. But yeah, and that automation you can also set for intelligent times. You can also have some devices have like draft warning. So if perhaps you've left a window open and you've forgotten, it will turn off the heating automatically. But there's so many other things you can do. So perhaps if you've got a smartwatch and you've got the app connected, it can detect by your geolocation if you've left the property, and then that will turn the heating off for you. But there's lots of other different sort of capabilities of it. But I think, yeah, it will involve a bit of an initial outlay, of course. Some of them can be, up to a couple of £100, and obviously depending on how many rooms you've got to heat. But I think over time it should help you sort of manage those costs.
Really interesting technology, Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, probably something applies to all of us at the moment, the way the costs for our heating bills and electricity bills are at the moment. A little further.
Lastly, we have Amanda. I've saved the star of the show. I think perhaps you might have already seen Timmy and Tommy. So we've got Tommy here and Timmy. So there are robo pets, and I think they were on the sofa a little bit earlier. So they're from Joy for You, and they are robo pets. So I'll just switch them on. They'll probably steal the show now. There we go. So they're interactive pets, so they come in different colours. So we happen to have a black one here today, but they come in tabby and orange. And the idea of them is really just to be a companion for somebody. So there may well be perhaps somebody who has lost a pet recently and feeling bereaved, or perhaps they've moved into supported living or a care home when they're not able to take their pets. And it may well give them some comfort. And they're really good for perhaps people who experience anxiety or have got dementia and feeling quite anxious. And as soon as you have them on your lap, you can't help but just give them a little stroke. They can calm you down. We're hoping also that they'll improve your communication. Oh, he wants his belly stroke now. So they are quite interactive, so it will improve.
I want one.
Oh, there you go. Would you like a go? There you go. So again,
I can hear the purr.
as you can see already, that's, if perhaps you didn't communicate very much, you already have made eye contact and you've already kind of improved somebody and they sat up and they're interested. And that can be really meaningful for a person that perhaps is quite limited to the communication that they can have. We're also hoping if you've got that on your lap and perhaps you're prone to falls, or perhaps you don't understand that you need to wait for someone to help you, if you've got a cat on your lap, you're probably quite content. You'll probably, maybe if you're anything like me, I won't move when I've got my cat on my lap. So you may well sit there for a little bit longer. And also we're hoping it will benefit perhaps carers. So if you were being supported by a loved one and felt very anxious when they were leaving their home, when they were leaving the room, you could perhaps have some time with one of the companion pets, and that will just enable the person to go and make a cup of tea or peel the potatoes, and perhaps you're quite happy and content there for a little while. So we will be working with our carers in Dorset. So we've been successful in gaining a small pot of money. So we'll have a few of these available, and we'll be doing a bit of work with our carers team to see who will benefit from them, and to give them a trial to see whether they have a positive effect on people.
That's great. I mean, they're obviously not for everybody, but I think that they really have a possibility to make a big difference to some people's lives, and as do all of these products. And I gather we now have somewhere that people can actually go and test out what it looks like in a home.
We do. We've got the tech lounges now. So we have one in Dorchester and one in Wimborne. And the public can book an appointment online, or they can call the adult access team or the customer services team in the council, and they can book an appointment, and we will see them in the lounge. We will talk to them. We'll give them impartial advice and information.
So I'm going to challenge you on that, because not everybody is on digital.
No.
So how do they make an appointment if they can't get online?
So they would telephone the adult access telephone number, the main adult social care number, and the adult access team will actually book the time on the phone with them.
That's great, so that they know straight away they're not being sent an appointment.
No. They'll say, would you like this Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock in the morning? And we'll meet them there, really and we can show them so much more.
This is not just for people who Dorset Council fund. This is for everybody who funds their own care as well. And I think it's really sometimes it's really important just to go and have a look and see what's there. There's no pressure for people to buy, is there, or anything like that?
No,
it's just,
definitely not.
Just go and see what there is out there and see what a big difference it can make to your lives.
You might be thinking, I need something for my mum or my dad or myself, and you just don't know what to buy or what's out there. And we are there to give you some clinical advice about your needs or your loved one's needs. So it is about, because technology can feel a bit scary to people, and the lounge is designed to be a comfortable environment. Sit down, have a little chat with us. We can show you all the things that there are there. There's so much now, as you said at the start, it's forever changing, and we like to keep up to date with all the latest devices and technology. So we're there to sort of test things, and we're there to give people that sort of reassurance that it could support them at home and while they're out and about.
That's great, Claire. Thank you very much for bringing those along today. And
problems.
Does he have a name? What's his name? Timmy.
And this is Tommy.
Timmy and Tommy. For now.
Yes, we're there. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think we're going to watch We are over the road as well, so over at the Bull Hotel. So we've got a few more bits and bobs on the table there to show people, and some information leaflets as well. So please come over if you want to. Lovely.
So come and find out
Yes.
over here and in Bridport.
And now we're going to watch a video, aren't we?
We work with within Dorset Council's adult services and children's services to provide advice to people in the community, just to enable them to live healthier and more independent lives by using technology.
So the Tech Lounge is set up as a showcase of the technology that we support people within Dorset. It has a range of technologies that people can come out and test and try. So it might be something like an Alexa, or things like a care line and a pendant.
There's no one size fits all with technology, so it's good to have a variety of different products that could meet different people's needs, different people's digital abilities. Not everyone's digitally minded, some people are digitally excluded, but we wanted to show people that there's a whole range of technology out there that isn't designed to be complicated, and we hope that we can show it in a normal home environment, and how it can sort of help people become adjusted to technology and use it in their everyday lives, really.
Brilliant. Well, we're back here, and I've got Christian back with me because we had a question come in online. We said at the start of the show, if you've got a question, then you can put that in the comments online, and we'll try and get them to our guests here at the Institute in Bridport. And the question came in, Christian, about the apps that you were showing on the Orca website. If one of those apps has looked at the feedback that they've got from Orca, made some improvements to their app, how do they go about that reassessment process, and how up to date are those results?
That's a really good question, actually. So normally, Orca are able to pick up that. If an app changes version, they can actually see that. They'll look in the App Store, Google Play. If it's flagged with health and fitness, they'll then put it into their review process. So for the moment, they'll flag it to say, this version is not the current one. This is a review in process. And then once they've done that review, they'll update that score. So it might go up, might go down. And I should also sound a note of reassurance here. Orca do also an exercise where if an app has been on there for 18 months without any changes, they'll take that off because it's deemed no longer safe, because the medical advice in it might be out of date, the data security might also be out of date. So they take that risk away from us to look after it.
So the apps that are on the Orca site are all up to date. They're all current apps. They're all going to work with the current load of phones and technology that are out there. That's great to hear. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming back and answering that question. And if you've got any questions from home, do feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll try and get them asked to our guests who are here. If you've got comments and questions from previous guests as well, don't do that as well. Now, delighted to be back on the sofa. Let me grab that microphone from you, Christian. Thank you very much. I'll pass that down here. And last year we heard all about the Dorset Care Record. So it's brilliant to have Jodie and Theresa here and welcome them to the festival to find out what's been going on with the My Dorset Care Record. And for those who don't know what this is, Theresa, just give us the background on what the My Dorset Care Record is.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So the Dorset Care Record, or the DCR, is a database of clinical and health and social care information about the residents of Dorset, which is accessed by professionals who are involved in citizens' care to give a more well-rounded overview of the information held on them. It's still very much work in progress. There's still information that needs to come into it. More and more information is coming in all of the time. We've, in this last month, just hit 82,000 users, and that would be professionals using the DCR. Comparing that, when I started in June 2020 with the team, we had about 18,000 users, and then at the turn into this year, around Christmas, January time, it was about 50,000. So it's a really good increase over this year. We've also just hit a target of 5,000 trained users, which is something that had been set for us to achieve this year. So that's also really exciting. We work with a number of partners who are clinical or health and social care based across the county, and there are new partners coming on board all of the time. For example, Help and Care, Age UK, Dorset Council. It's very much gathering momentum the more and more information that's in there. And then alongside the Dorset Care Record, we have My Dorset Care Record, or My DCR. And this is the patient portal or citizen portal element of the DCR. And this enables citizens of Dorset to be able to access their own health and social care information from any device.
So from a citizen's point of view, we've got all this data being shared with health and social care partners across the county. What's the benefit to the citizens of having all of that data available to the clinicians and social care staff that they're dealing with?
It means that if somebody is engaging with treatment for any condition, or whether it's more of a lifestyle, such as the Livewell Dorset that colleagues have already spoken about, Emma and Christian, then they can have all of that information potentially in one place. They don't have to keep repeating their story, especially if they're seeing clinicians for a long-term health condition on a regular basis. If there was an emergency situation, it means that colleagues in the A&E departments, the emergency departments in the hospitals across the county, can actually access information about that person and have it all in one place. So we're looking at saving time, making treatment more efficient, making treatment more clinically safe, essentially, the more we develop this system.
And I know that having people having to explain their situation constantly to every new person they meet, that can be really exhausting. So just taking that away from that burden away from people must be quite powerful.
Yes, and quicker access to information. So if I talk a bit more about the My Dorset Care Record, the My DCR, we've already heard a lot about the Orca Health Library. It's possible to click through and access the Orca Health Library from the My Dorset Care Record, My DCR. That's all linked in already. It's possible to set goals and actions to support health and well-being. It's possible to create a support network, a personal support network. So by that I mean anybody could put their friends and family into their support network, in their MyDCR, indicate who that person is in relation to them. Are they a friend, a relative? Are they their carer? They can include contact information, and they can also indicate if they give consent to share information with that person. So that, again, can save time. And I, many years ago, came from a clinical background where a lot of time could be taken up, and it was actually quite distressing if someone's phoning up to check in on their relative and we're unable to give them information.
Yeah.
So,
and in places where there's like a lasting power of attorney in place, it means that that person can see the medical and social care interactions that their family member is having.
Absolutely, and this it's probably important to note that the MyDCR is still very much in the pilot stages. The system went live in March of this year, and we are currently piloting this across Dorset with partners at Dorset County Hospital in Dorchester and then University Hospitals Dorset over in Poole and Bournemouth. We've got 12 pilots running involving about 600 citizens of Dorset, and this is predominantly around the diabetes specialty and enabling patients to see their clinic outcome letters in their MyDCR rather than having to wait for those to be printed and posted to them.
Okay, making the whole process more efficient. And it's a good time to bring in Jodie.
Yes.
So you've been part of these pilots, Jodie. What have you found? What's the response been from patients and clinicians alike?
So we've closed a couple of our pilots already. Some of the ones that focused around sharing clinic letters and also around using my support network, so the circle of care of friends and family. Sharing clinic letters has been particularly important for patients because they're able to see their clinic letter much quicker than if they were to receive it in the post. Also saves on postage costs and time and means people are seeing the information wherever they can access it. In terms of my support network, we had, for example, a particular patient who really wanted a way to enable his daughter to access his care record. So he was able to grant his daughter access. She could access it as herself, but view his record. And then she could look at all his upcoming appointments, etc. Another piece of kind of positive feedback we had from him was that he was able to view his appointments quicker than he was receiving the letter. So it was about a week, I think, in the end, that he could see them before they actually came to him. We've had some feedback from our surveys already. So all of the pilots that have closed, we've sent round surveys to both patients and clinicians, asking them for some feedback around what they found worked well or didn't work well. One of the main takeaways was that they all found it really easy to use. They found it really easy to register and to view their documentation. The only thing is that they were asking for more information, understandably. So people particularly were looking for blood test results, something that they often get done at either the GP or at a hospital, and they would get them much quicker on MyDCR. So that's functionality we're looking at in the future.
So there's places to go and take this in the future. Is there any other sort of areas where you think that expansion is going to be really valuable to patients and make a real difference in their lives?
So one of the pilots, again, we're looking at sharing files and photos, we've said. So again, diabetes. There's patients that need to share photos of their feet, for example. So they would be sending them to the portal, their clinician could view them, and then they could respond to them via the portal. But in terms of the wider population, we obviously want to roll out to the whole of Dorset eventually. And in order to do that, we need to enable self-registration. So at the moment, patients are only invited to join a pilot by a specific clinician, but self-registration would allow them to enter relevant information like their NHS number, etc., and be able to register for themselves.
And obviously, having everybody able to register means that we need to be really careful with the data that we're sharing, because people will be able to access their health records. Just tell us a little bit about how privacy and security have been built into the platform.
Yeah, so we are completely a secure platform. You are able to, so from a Dorset Care Record perspective, clinicians can only access from whitelisted software, whitelisted computers, sorry, so they can, it has to be on a specific network like the hospitals, etc. We've had security penetration tests completed on our MyDCR, so checking that no hackers can access it, and they've passed all of those, and we've been live since March, as Theresa said, since March of this year, and we've not had any issues, and we wouldn't expect to.
Brilliant. It's brilliant to see that sort of baked in from the start. It's such an important part of when we're talking about health and social care data. And when do you think it's going to be sort of rolled out across the rest of Dorset? What's the sort of time frame for that?
So at the moment, we're evaluating all of the pilots that we've completed so far to understand whether they have met their objectives, but also to understand whether they have, we're still going to be the strategic fit for Dorset. At the moment, we are kind of the front door that they want to use for portals, but obviously that could change. But we also are doing upgrades of our current software. So once we've done those, we can also look to roll out wider.
Brilliant. I understand we've got some questions. Where is our questioner?
Yeah.
So some online.
Some online, yeah. So we have one that is, where can I see my data on MyDCR?
So at the moment, you can only see your data on MyDCR if you've been invited to a specific pilot. So, for example, if you've been invited by a diabetes clinician, we've also got pilots with rheumatology, for example. So at the moment, it's not for everybody. We're just testing the functionality, but we will be rolling out wider into 2023.
Okay. And then there's one more. It says, what happens if I move out of Dorset?
So if you, Dorset Care Record and My Dorset Care Record are only Dorset specific. So your data would remain on the Dorset Care Record or My Dorset Care Record, but it wouldn't kind of, you wouldn't continue to transfer your data or be able to access My Dorset Care Record to see, for example, care you've received in Somerset. We're working as part of Wessex Care Record, which is trying to join up Hampshire's and Dorset's Care Record with the long-term aim of there being a national care record, so that if you were to move, then your records and your data would move with you.
I think that's all the questions we've got now. So I'll say a big thank you to Jodie and Theresa for telling us all about the Dorset Care Record and My Dorset Care Record. Fantastic stuff. I'll take a microphone from you, Theresa, and I'm going to pass that over here. Now, we've been looking at the benefit of digital for residents, and we're going to talk a little bit about how digital can help residents and businesses. I'm joined by Marten from the recycling team at Dorset Council, and you've been rolling out some new technology as part of your waste collection vehicles. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, that's correct. It's called the Bartek system, and it's a single software platform for our waste collection and cleansing services. So that's the big summary. What does that mean? Well, it links directly to our fleet, providing live information and updates. And yeah, if you look at the back office end of the thing, then there's a big database behind, so all the properties listed by round, and we have a list of all the containers each of those properties have. But the really good thing is that with the live information that we get from the fleet vehicles, is that we can ascertain at any time of the day where the fleet are.
Okay.
And that is one of the big things that the Bartek system can help with, because it really does help with our round optimization.
Okay.
Because if we know that some rounds are struggling, then we can make changes periodically, and also there's property developments being built all the time. So the software really does help make huge improvements.
So when you're talking about software inside the bin lorries, let's just be specific. This is like an iPad type device inside the trucks?
Yes, so the in-cab technology is sort of pad-based, so the crew, or the driver in particular, can report The driver can report whether a particular street or streets have been completed, and also whether there's been any issues on the rounds as well, which we can follow up at a later date.
So if a particular street was closed because of a car accident or a flood or some sort of roadworks, they'd be able to report that there and then, and you'd be able to see that there's an issue out on the round.
That's right, and there's lots of things like miscollections as well. We used to have lots of reports of miscollections where perhaps the member of the public have put their bin out too late. The system links really well to our online forms, so that if a resident goes on, fills out the online form reporting a miscollection, you can highlight information such as, well, actually, your bin wasn't presented, as well as other issues such as contaminated bins, which I can come into in a minute.
Yeah, now we have a chance to watch a little video of the system in use. Let's have a look at that now.
So you can see the pad being updated at the moment, either for a round that's been finished, or whether he's getting out of the cab to take a photo where there may be an issue. I should add, this is technology not just for our recycling rounds and our rubbish rounds, but also for our garden waste service and also the commercial waste services arm of Dorset Council. And that's a really good example where we might not necessarily want to collect the bin.
Right.
So if that resident rang up and said, why wasn't my garden waste bin collected, then there would be a message returned immediately on the e-form suggesting that it was overfull, perhaps.
There was an entire tree poking out
Exactly.
of the top of it.
We don't go into that level of detail,
No.
but certainly highlighting that there was an issue.
So it's connecting together the situation on the street, helping the staff out on those bin collections, avoiding any sort of confrontation with members of the public because everybody can see and it's recorded what the situation was and why something wasn't collected.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps reduce customer contact as well in relation to the number of inquiries that we get. But yeah, it's really providing that real-time information back to the members of the public on why there was an issue regarding their collection that day.
Yeah, now you're also using it to help with recycling. Just tell us a little bit about how digital is helping with that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're doing incredibly well in Dorset. We're right at one of the best recycling authorities in the country, recycling household waste of around 60%. But my team's focusing very much on a continuous improvement through multiple projects and campaigns. And the Bartek system helps because although we're doing these lots of overarching campaigns, such as trying to reduce and recycle food waste more, we're also able to do more targeted campaigns from the data that we get from the Bartek system.
Okay.
So, for example, where we have reports from the crew, who incidentally do a fantastic job, I meant to mention that earlier.
Yes, yeah.
Where we get reports from the crew highlighting about properties that have contaminated their recycling bin, and that's a real big issue for us because the rubbish costs so much money. Recycling still has a cost, but actually a lot less. But the worst thing that could happen is that a recycling bin contaminates the whole rear load of the recycling vehicle. So we can only take a certain level of contaminants, very small quantities of contaminants in recycling, but where a bin cannot be simply collected, then we obviously tag it, but sometimes residents do again contact us wanting to know why it hasn't been collected. Then there are those residents who unfortunately contaminate on a regular basis, and that's where the Bartek information reports come into play, where we can do the reports of people who've contaminated, say, over a month or two. We can then automatically, through press of a button, send a letter out to those residents with educational information, offering further advice. And normally those letters result in 50% reduction immediately in people starting to engage the recycling and presenting cleaner material in the future. And then if we send a second letter out, that goes down to about 15%. So we've got a good system in place now where we can actually make a big difference with really targeting particular households or even streets.
And while you've got an audience here, Martin, what are the reasons why you can't collect a bin? What are the typical reasons why a recycling bin gets rejected?
Well, again, as I highlighted earlier, we're doing really well in Dorset, and one of the biggest problems we have with the contamination in the bins is over-enthusiasm, and plastics is in particular. People want to put every single plastic in the recycling bin, but unfortunately on the collection service side, we can only accept plastic bottles, pots, tubs, and trays.
So things like
they're the target material. So soft plastics, we can go back to a number of supermarkets. There are alternatives, and of course we have the household recycling centres, there's recycling banks as well for other materials such as foil and textiles. So, yeah, it's really, that's one of the reasons why, you know, we do a lot of our work to try and make sure that people put the right stuff in the right bin.
Brilliant. Well, looking after the planet is going to be critical for the future, and it's great to have you telling the story about how Dorset Recycling Team are helping to be part of that and pushing the recycling agenda forward. There's obviously still a lot we can do, even for an authority that's at the top of the league in terms of their recycling abilities. So I'm going to take that microphone from you. From waste, we're going across to the sofa to talk about fossils. And last month, Lisa from the digital team at Dorset Council managed to get to the beach. Let's see what she's been up to while she was down there.
Welcome to Charmouth on the Jurassic Coast. We're here today to talk about all things fossils. Welcome, Jodie.
Hello.
Jodie Cole from the Jurassic Coast Trust.
Nice to meet you.
Jodie is a fossil warden, and what is a day in the life of your role here like?
So typically most of my role is safety orientated, so I'll be making sure that people aren't climbing on the cliffs and digging into the cliffs to keep them safe but also protect the World Heritage Site. And then the other aspect is just getting excited about fossils and helping people find fossils along the shoreline.
Amazing. How many people do you get on the beach each day?
Oh, it's hard to say. Through the Heritage Centre, sometimes we can get over 100,000 people a year just going through their doors alone, and it'll be much, much more than that visiting the beach. So definitely hundreds of thousands of people and enjoying Charmouth every single year.
Day. So it's been a busy summer.
Yes, just a bit.
Brilliant. What's been the most interesting find that you've made on the beach?
I would say my most interesting and favourite find is a shark fin spine from a shark called a Hybodus. I'm really, really interested in sharks. I'm a marine biologist by training, and I did some of my research on sharks and particularly sharks that have fin spines. So to find one that is over 200 million years old is just amazing.
So that would have been swimming in this area all
Exactly,
that time ago.
exactly.
That's incredible. It's great. And you've got in the Heritage Centre here, there's the ichthyosaur, isn't it, that's been famous on TV as well, and the kind of BBC documentary.
The Attenborough sea dragon, the famous ichthyosaur that was found on Monmouth Beach towards Lyme Regis, and it's been on display and opened by Sir David Attenborough himself, and it's free to visit, so you can see it anytime you like.
That's brilliant. So today we're going to do a little bit of fossil hunting, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is there anything that we need to be conscious of if we're going to go and look for fossils?
Definitely. I would say your top thing to be careful about is safety, really. People often forget because they're so excited about finding fossils. Actually, this is quite a dangerous and dynamic environment. At the moment, because we've had very hot weather followed by very wet weather, we're finding that the cliffs are moving on the daily. And I think people expect the falls to be big and catastrophic with lots of warning. But even falls that are small with rocks like this, they can not make for a good day if you're at the base of the cliff. So stay well away from the cliff. Make sure you check the tides as well. So making sure that you're collecting while the tide is going out, and also making sure that you're not being pushed close to the cliffs or cut off. So in terms of safety, those are the two things you really need to be careful of. The good news is that all the greatest fossils are on the beach anyway. Lots of the material that's falling out of the cliff is just mud, so you're not going to have much luck. So have a look along where the seaweed line is. You'll see there's different fossils that wash up, sometimes in the iron pyrite or the fool's gold. Looks very much like a piece of gold, and you'll find perfect little ammonites amongst that stuff.
I'm so excited now. So shall we go and see what we can find along the coast? That's brilliant. Let's go.
Good stuff.
Charmouth looking for fossils. You may be wondering, what has this got to do with digital innovation? We're now going to hear from Guy from the Jurassic Coast Trust. I'm off to get an ice cream. Back to the studio.
Well, it's great to be joined here on the sofa. Lisa's finished on the beach. I wonder if you did find a fossil or not. Maybe we'll never know. The
hope so.
rumours are rife. But welcome, Guy, from the Jurassic Coast Trust.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And how on earth does this all link with digital? Tell us more.
Brilliant. Thank you. So here in Dorset, we are very, very privileged to be the home of England's only natural World Heritage Site. You may have heard of it. It's called the Jurassic Coast. It's 95 miles long. It stretches across the majority of Dorset's coastline and a fair chunk of East Devon's as well. And it's an absolutely incredible place, as everyone who lives here knows. There's so much to do here, so much walking and, yeah, obviously fossil collecting, as we saw there with Jodie. And to celebrate all of that, we have just launched a new website. So you can see it on the screen here. I can definitely offer a little prize for anyone who can guess where that was filmed. It's actually over the border into Devon, but we do incorporate, as I said, both counties here. And yeah, this has just been launched, and it's a tremendous opportunity to promote the area. We've got some absolutely amazing stories to tell about different places you can go and visit, different activities you can do, different places you can go out to eat, and basically have a whole Jurassic Coast experience. All the content on our site is written by our experts in our team, so we've got a whole team of very experienced scientists, paleontologists, geologists who make sure that everything is up to date and correct. And it really sort of enhances people's stay. So you can go and have a lovely stay in a beautiful campsite near the sea, and then you can pop on our website and you can read all about the fossils that you can find there, or the creatures that used to live there millions of years ago. And you know, I'm not a scientist by training at all. My background's in marketing and fundraising, but I've just totally fallen in love with the place over the 8 years that I've been with the Trust. So it's the sort of thing, once you get into it and you start reading and learning more about it, it's incredible, and it's all right on our doorstep, which we're really thrilled to have.
And this tourism, sort of promoting the tourism aspect of it, are you finding people travelling from a long way to come and enjoy the Jurassic Coast?
Absolutely. Well, we had the privilege of being a global brand. So you see the Jurassic Coast featured in programs, television programs, and documentaries, and even Hollywood films. You know, the film Ammonite, which came out a few years ago with Kate Winslet, it is constantly in the news. We get a lot of free publicity, which I'm very thankful for, and it's just somewhere that captures people's imagination, no matter what they're into. And a lot of people have it on their bucket list to travel here at some point. And I field a lot of inquiries from people from all over the world who want to come here and fossil hunt or just walk along the beach. So yeah, it's really quite amazing.
And you mentioned you'd been sort of captured by the excitement. Tell us about your own personal sort of fossil hunting experiences. Have you found anything big or exciting in your time?
No, I've found some lovely little ammonites. I'm very happy with that. I definitely don't have the patience required to find anything larger than that. But I absolutely love. I actually live in Charmouth, so it's a bit of a busman's holiday for me, going fossil collecting. But I do love it, and I've got a little 2-year-old girl as well, and she's found her first belemnite and ammonite already. So that's going to be a great journey for her, walking in the footsteps of Mary Anning.
And it's kind of bringing together the sort of being outdoors, spending time with the family, and this sort of scientific and learning about dinosaurs and fossils and the geology of the area as well.
Absolutely, yeah, it all ties together. We've just got so much here, so many different stories we can tell, and so many different things that people can experience.
Well, it's brilliant to hear all about that, and there's lots of other things going on in the local area as well. In fact, Lisa has been busy, not just fossil collecting, but she's also been out visiting a local company called Collins Nets, and looking at how they've been using digital. So let's have a look at that video now. Thank you very much, Guy.
No problem, thank you.
We're here today at Collins Nets in Bridport to talk to Dawn. Dawn, can you tell me a bit about what you do here?
Well, here at Collins Nets we do quite a lot of different things. The business was started about 35 years ago by my dad and uncle, which was all stemmed around the fish farming industry, making the nets, which you can see here today. And from there it has gone into many other different things. So from the nets that go over the top of lakes, then stemmed into what else can the net be used. So we
sell them for poultry farms, game farms. We also sell nets for the leisure sports industry, so to go on the perimeters of golf courses. So there's many different uses for nets, which we have found out.
That's brilliant. And you sell many other things on your website too, don't you?
We do, yeah.
Trail cameras and
everything. We try to be a one-stop shop for the game and poultry industry and the fish farming industry. So we sell feeders, drinkers, fencing, like just the whole range of different items.
That's brilliant. So I'm looking forward to talking a bit about your digital transformation journey here at Collins Nets. So Dawn, what started you on your digital journey?
Well, 10 years ago when I started working here with my dad and uncle, who was still in the business then, it was very basic. There was a very basic website and that was about it in terms of digital, so I needed to take it forward into the 21st century and bring the business up to date. So it's been a gradual process over those 10 years. So the website has been redeveloped a couple times since then, but also, we started advertising in magazines, digitally as well, and we have social media now. So there's been a lot of changes in that 10 years, bringing it all up to date as much as we can do.
To help you build that brand and get that really strong digital
Absolutely,
presence.
yeah. We didn't even have a logo, so that's something that we developed with Key Digital in the last couple of years, and it was a really good process to go through, getting all our ideas together, everything about the business, because there are so many elements. Bringing that into our logo, choosing colours. I loved the design process, and really making Collins Nets a brand. We now have a better search facility on the website, and we have the Stripe payment gateway and PayPal, which has made it much easier for customers to check out. The Trustpilot product reviews is now working perfectly, so people can now read the product reviews, which previously hadn't been working at all. The mobile usability is, it works now, but it didn't work at all before. It was so hard for people to use our website on their phone. The website has generated new customers, which is up by 25%. The new users checking out has upped by 19%, and overall the revenue's gone up by 10%, which is amazing.
It's been an interesting morning with Collins Nets. Now back to the studio.
She did. The studio's over there. Okay. Well, it's brilliant to see Lisa out and about and talking to businesses who are really embracing digital as part. And I'm joined on the sofa now by Simon, who's based here at the Institute.
Yes.
And also is part of Crowdfunder. I'm fascinated by this story, Simon. And we've seen lots of businesses adopt digital since the pandemic. It's changed a lot of different things. Just give us the background on what Crowdfunder is and does.
So, So we're the UK's leading crowdfunding platform. So we're not necessarily just a donations platform. So lots of people would have heard of Just Giving. And GoFundMe. They're platforms which are more focused on donations into charitable causes. We do that, but actually what we're about is directly connecting into communities and community groups. So if you have ideas, if you have a business startup, if you have, you're trying to save something in your community, whether it's buying the pub or funding your cricket club or all these other weird and wonderful things that we have going on the platform, we're probably the destination for that. So essentially, crowdfunding works in a way which is, you have a need for something, and there's a lot of need at the moment for things in communities, lots of underfunding, lots of struggles within all different aspects of the economy, and we have projects that come onto the platform every day. So they could be community groups, charities, startups, whatever they might be. They come onto the platform every day, and they start telling us a little bit about what it is that they're doing, what it is that they're trying to achieve, and what will help enable them get to where they want to get to.
So that will be telling someone about their startup idea. That will be starting to write up about your community group, which is also helping people in the community with, selling them coffee and waffles or whatever it might be, like the Waffle House in Axminster. And they'll start telling them how they're also going to help some community benefit, like sort of support with mental health, etc. And they'll put their target on that. So they'll say, we need to do £10,000. And in order to do that, we need to raise £10,000. And in order to do that, we need your help, community. And they go out to their community and they start saying, this is what we'll do with the money. This is how it's going to benefit young people. This is how it's going to benefit whoever the audience is. And they essentially just pitch it to the crowd. And then the crowd starts to get their head around the idea and then put their money in and support it.
Right, so this platform can be used in all sorts of different ways.
In all sorts of ways. So we have 200 to 300 projects added every single day to Crowdfunder from across the country. So they range right across from absolute crazy, oh my God, what are they doing, to just like, that just makes perfect sense, what a beautiful story, whatever that is. And then they, as they're telling us more and more about what they're doing, and this is all into the system, so they're not talking to us as human beings, they do as well sometimes, but they're putting it into the system. Our system is then profiling their ideas, their locations, and what it is that they're trying to do. And then in the background, we also have a system which is, we call it simply extra funding. We have a bunch of partners on the platform. They put money onto the platform. We've currently got about £10 million of, we call it partner funding. And that money is then being matched against those ideas. So we have that happening as well. So we've got match funding happening on the platform. We've actually distributed, I think, probably about £100,000 of Dorset Council money at various points around youth projects, etc.
So it isn't just a way of people raising money, it's actually, if there's local organisations that want to fund local projects, they can do it via Crowdfunder.
Exactly. So local businesses can get involved, but we're talking also about councils. So we got about 20 or 30 local councils on the platform. We've got funding bodies like Sport England and British Cycling and Lottery Heritage Fund, all that sort of stuff on the platform as well, who have sums of money which are to try and match the types of projects they want to fund.
Right.
So they're on the platform. We also have corporates. So we have £1 million from Aviva. In fact, it's just gone up to £2 million because they're trying to support people and projects and communities that are dealing with the cost of living crisis. We also have British Airways who are putting their CSR funding through the platform as well. So British Airways are putting money into community projects that are helping people with mental health issues and that sort of stuff, and good community projects.
And some famous donations as well.
There's always famous people on the platform. I think we had Russell Crowe donating £5,000 to a bookshop last week. Quite random. It was actually him as well. So, that was a little bit random. And then in terms of high-profile people using the platform to I suppose share with their audience and get some of the things supported that they want to support. We had Ed Sheeran just recently raised, I think, £160,000 on a prize draw on our platform for a private concert, which he did to, I think, 60 people. I don't know if you're Ed Sheeran fans.
I've been to see him.
I didn't buy a ticket.
Yeah, but he's very good.
Yeah, well, so, of course he is. He's very, very talented, isn't he? But so yeah, there's all sorts of ways to use the platform.
Yes, and part of that is about helping local businesses. Can you tell us about some of the businesses, some of the ideas that have come through the platform and sort of got to the point where they've actually launched and been successful from Crowdfunder?
So yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. We're a bit of a we'll see trends and we'll spot trends. So things will happen on the platform and they tend to happen in groups, right? So startups are quite interesting like that as well. So you'll see lots and lots of multiples of beers, for example. Suddenly, like, everyone gets their head around the idea that crowdfunding is a brilliant way to start your beer company. And that's because what crowdfunding does is it starts to build your customer base before you go out and put too much risk into it, right? So if you want to start a beer, we've had rums, we've had gins, so it's not all alcohol. We've had pizza trucks, but they all tend to all happen at the same time because people see it and they go, actually, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And those sorts of things happen at the strangest of times. So, we were working during lockdown. So when lockdown was announced, we got incredibly busy. So we were hiring during lockdown because the requirement for our services were going up and up. So we were doing lots of fundraising around, NHS, buying PPE and all that sort of stuff, raising millions of pounds for those sorts of things. But actually, another thing that was coming through was people going, I've been furloughed. it's given me some time to think, right? So they're sitting at home, they're furloughed, they're being paid not to work, and they're thinking about, do I want to go back to that, or do I want to do something different?
Yeah.
So it was really unexpected to us as well that suddenly, again, pizza trucks, getting ready. We had loads of businesses pivoting. So like businesses were going, we're a small community business. I think, is it Beer Cat, the amazing cocktail bar just down the road was one of them. They obviously lost their customer base overnight.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the funds to sort of, stand up to that for very long or not be affected by that. And so they went to their crowd, their customers, and said, if you help us raise this amount of money, it wasn't a huge deal, it wasn't a huge sum, it was I think maybe £2,000 or £3,000, we can buy a cocktail making machine that we can drop off cocktails on your doorstep, right? So they put that up, got funded, and then throughout lockdown they were delivering cocktails to people, stayed in business, etc. So we also see a lot of really creative ways that businesses and causes and charities use the platform as well.
Did you have a cocktail dropped off here at the Institute?
Absolutely.
You did?
Yeah.
Very
Well, we
good.
weren't here. I had one dropped at home.
Dropped at home.
We weren't allowed to be here.
And have you got any favourite businesses or favourite projects from you that you personally have seen come through and you thought, actually, that was really worthwhile. I'm glad that worked. I'm glad they came to us.
There's so many. It's really, really hard. I should think about that, shouldn't I? On a local basis,
yeah.
We've seen a lot of sort of cafes and food businesses. I'm a huge fan of the Waffle House in Axminster.
Yeah.
So that's something that, we can't claim responsibility for that. We're a small part of their story, but we help them get that initial funding. And that's what we are. We help people get up. We're not there to be part of your business plan. We're there to start you and get you going. And then if you need help pivot or whatever at any point. But that's an amazing business, which is delicious food, an amazing venue, welcoming to everybody, which is obviously just really, really important in communities that are, disconnected or, there's a lot of people out there that are lonely and suffering and the help isn't there. And actually, it is there in some form at the Waffle House.
Yes.
And those things are just massively important. And those are communities coming together. You'd never be able to walk into the bank and get that money.
No.
So, that's I think the bit that makes me really proud about what we do, and I see all the time. And there's thousands of them.
And I think that's a really brilliant story of demonstrating the human impact of a technology solution that's actually affected a local community, a local venue, and created a place where people can go and meet and connect in a way that place wouldn't exist if it hadn't been for the digital technology that had been there.
Absolutely, and I think that, so my background, my whole interest has been around how you link real world things and use digital as an enabler. No, I'm not interested in, everyone sitting on Facebook talking and chatting. I'm interested in what Facebook can do and those other brilliant platforms can do, and what we can do as part of that mix to do real world stuff, not meta. I don't know about that.
No.
Bit concerned, but things like
no comment.
Yeah, well, exactly. things like our part in this and the way that we work with social networks for me is we just use what they're brilliant at doing to spread the word, because it's all fundamentally about marketing and getting your idea out.
Well, the people that are watching at home have got some questions.
Ooh.
So Catherine has got a question from some of the people that have been watching at home.
Yeah, someone's asked, is Crowdfunder a commercial business? How does it make money?
Crowdfunder is a commercial business, yes. Like all of our competitors are commercial businesses. And we've got investors, and we've been invested by the crowd. So we have a number of investors. We've got big investors and small investors. We've got 2,500, maybe 3,000 individuals who've invested in us. We crowdfunded Crowdfunder. So, and that's because, it's a really interesting thing there, because lots of people and lots of the majority of our backers who see us as a commercial business and see that we need funding in order to operate and grow, see that, you can't hire tech people without money, right? Tech people can get jobs pretty easily, especially at the moment. You can't hire talented designers and marketeers, and you can't pay Amazon hosting bills. It's a commercial business. And our revenue model is, depending on what type of project you're funding, is we charge profit businesses a percentage of what money is taken. So we're charging for the service. If you're a not-for-profit, there's no platform fee, so that's zero. So we don't charge them anything other than the transaction fees. And the transaction fees is a hard cost that we can't, we have to pass that on to the Visas and the MasterCards and the card transacting companies.
Right.
So we charge them zero for the commission, and then we put tipping on. So tipping is on the platform, and same with all of our competitors. Tipping is probably the way that we make most of our revenue, and we talk to people about you tipping helps us do more of these, right? And that's the conversation we have. We also then have a revenue stream from partners. So when I talk about the funding partners that we have on the platform, they're paying us to distribute their fees their funds into those projects out there.
Yeah. And if somebody's watching at home, sorry, Catherine, is there another question? No, sorry. If someone's
That's the one we always get asked, by the way.
Yeah. If someone's watching at home and they're thinking, oh, I've got an idea, I wonder if Crowdfunder would work for me. Well, what should they do? How should they go and sort of help them answer that question?
Go on to crowdfunder.co.uk. And I think the best way, what we know sort of from statistics, the best way to get funded is to look at other people. It doesn't have to be the same subject. So if you want to start a photography club, you can search for photography clubs and there'll be photography clubs on there. But just search for other things that have been funded and might have some similarities, and just see how they've done it. Listen to their stories. Listen to see what they've raised, see what's realistic, and it's a journey, right? So if you need to raise £50,000, that's probably quite a big thing to start from zero, right? Start with £5,000 or £500 and just start that journey. You need to prove your value. You need to prove your worth to everything, to your crowd. And if you go out the gates without a really, really good plan, asking for £100,000 to start up your whatever it is, it's going to be quite tricky.
Yeah. So this is like the crowd version of Dragon's Den. So instead of four people telling you no, you've got a lot of people that could potentially tell you yes or no.
And Dragon's Den is a TV format. That's all it is. It's not real. That's not the way people invest. And it's really demoralising. It's not how things should be doing. Dragon's Den is pretty much just about humiliating people on TV, isn't it? Isn't it?
So if people come up with a good idea that can get funding through your platform, and that's great to see.
Okay, so again, the other sort of the crowdfunding thing is we're not the platform. There's not a whole crowd of people on our platform going, what can I put some money into today?
Yes.
We facilitate, right? So you put your project on, you have to go out and tell people, right? And we enable the transaction, and we help that transaction scale. And then there is lots of mechanics on the platform that once something gets going, it will get into a bigger audience, it will go into our marketing, it will go into our social and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you've got to get it going. It will be invisible until you get some money.
Yeah.
And we recommend that, if you have an idea, you probably need to get 10 to 20% on there before you really start relying on strangers to do it.
Yes. So the legwork hasn't gone away. The promotion effort, the marketing, the kind of having a good idea and making it real, that doesn't go away. But your platform allows that to actually be met with real money.
But the brilliant thing about that process of doing it is that you're actually finding out whether you get the money. If you don't get the money, you've got two things to look at. Did I not communicate that very well? Is it a bad idea? Yeah. And if it's a bad idea, then we've stopped you from getting in debt over at the bank or whatever it might be, another way, a loan shark or whatever, to go, or borrowing money, right? That's because you'll get pretty good feedback that no one's into your idea.
No one's into it, no one's prepared to fund it. Simon, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks very much for explaining. I'll let you go back up to your office, which is just upstairs. Well, what a morning we've had. I think we can safely say there's a lot happening in Dorset, a lot of potential for digital as well. I'd like to say a big thank you to the Science and Literacy Institute for hosting us, to our festival sponsors, Tailwind Digital, Key Digital, and Talk, Think, Do, plus all of our guests and our speakers, and our audience today. Give yourselves a big round of applause, audience, as well. And you as well for watching online at home and for sending in your comments as well. I hope you found it interesting, and do tune in tomorrow when we'll be at the E-Bike Cafe, which is a fantastic venue down in Weymouth. There's still tickets available, so if you want to get down to the E-Bike Cafe, you can do that. And we'll be ending the week, looking at what the smart future and what a connected place might look like. So from all of us here in Bridport, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.